Good afternoon. My name is Larry Ray. I'm the President and CEO of American Manganese, Inc. I'm here to tell you today that American Manganese could possibly bring in the lowest cost electrolytic manganese metal mine in North America. It'll be the first one in the past few decades. What is manganese? Well, you can't have a steel industry without manganese. If you don't have manganese, you don't have steel. If you don't have steel, the world stops. North America has no manganese. We depend on our neighbors and other countries to import our manganese, and it just doesn't make any sense we don't exploit the resources in our own country. So I'm here to tell you that we are moving ahead with the feasibility study, we're moving ahead with the environmental studies, and we're moving ahead with a massive drill program in order to build the American Manganese, Inc. into the first primary electrolytic manganese producer in the United States. Please visit our website at americanmanganeseinc.com or call us at 604-531-9639. Thank you.
Welcome back to the Money and Wealth Show. I'm Sterling Fox, delighted to have longtime political reporter Harvey Oberfeld with us as our guest. We're talking about that area where politics and finance merge, usually to the dissatisfaction of the voters, but at least, Harvey, we get our say about it. And you broached the idea of the HST a few moments ago. We've talked about that extensively on this program in the person of Mr. Bill Vanderzam, who came by with his boisterous presentation as to why we ought not to have the HST, and followed the week later by Finance Minister Colin Hanson, who presented the government's case for the HST. A very polarizing dynamic in 2010 in British Columbia. Something that everybody in the province has an opinion about because, like it or not, we're going to pay it.
But you see, the difference now is that the opinion on the HST, most of the people I talk to, is not based on whether it's a good tax or a bad tax for the economy of the province. Although consumers don't like it, they say, well, we're going to pay more, and frankly, they don't buy the government's argument that a lot of manufacturers will lower prices accordingly and all that for the savings they'll make. Well, I don't think I buy that either.
Well, and the other, just to carry that forward, the other deal on the side of big business is because of the breaks they're going to be getting on PST, they'll be able to spend more on infrastructure and machinery, thereby creating more jobs, which ultimately benefits everyone in the province.
And more money in the economy moving around.
Right.
But what I'm finding when I talk to people, or when I hear from them on my blog, because I blogged about the HST, it's nothing to do with the actual tax itself. It's the way it was done that has people so angry that they're, what is that line from the, I mentioned entertainment and politics, they're mad as hell and they're not going to take it anymore.
That's right.
Well, that's now reality in British Columbia. And people are voting, people are looking to sign that referendum, that petition, without even thinking about what the consequences of the actual economic implications are. It's the way it was done and the way the government handled it that really makes them mad.
You've covered Parliament Hill for a great number of years. You were the British Columbia correspondent in Ottawa, ostensibly for 2 years. You spent 8 instead.
That's right.
Can you recall in your days on Parliament Hill a story or an issue that had Canadians as worked up as we here in BC are, one side or the other, on the HST?
Well, don't forget we had Mulroney in the GST.
Okay.
Which is appropriate because, there was a man, Lion Brian, nobody really, he was a very hard person to like, and Canadians didn't seem to like him very much, and they still don't like him very much, and he's carried that. And of course his more recent involvement in testifying in Parliament on the committees in the Commission of Inquiry, surrounding the Airbus, didn't help his image.
Not a bit.
But when he brought in the GST, people didn't like it, and people didn't like the idea of the tax. But all the arguments were about the tax itself. I mean, it's going to cost us more. It's not going to help the average person. I mean, they were, people can debate taxes. What's happened with the HST is they're not debating so much the tax. They don't like the fact that the government and the premier stood up and looked them right in the eye, looked restaurateurs, looked people in the eye and said right before the election, we will not do that.
Right.
And then it now turns out 3 days after the ballots were counted, they were in touch with Ottawa saying, let's go for it. Now that is the straw that broke the camel's back, it seems. And I'll bet you, I mean, Gordon Campbell is no fool. Gordon Campbell and Colin Hanson and those people, I mean, they've been around a while. They are probably more shocked than any of us as to how the public has reacted. In other words, they underestimated the anger that they would cause by the way they did it, the deceit they used.
When we had the finance minister on the show, he acknowledged the unpopularity of the tax, but he also went on to say, look, it doesn't matter what type of tax you introduce as government, nobody's going to like it. No matter what percentage or where it's coming from, everybody hates taxes.
Well,
but I think he still is surprised by, Harvey, the visceral reaction of the voters.
Because, government needs tax money. I mean, no matter how they get it out of us, they're going to get it out of us. They have, we have increased demands on education, on healthcare spending. Now we're going to have full-time kindergartens. I mean, people want programs. People want all kinds of development around the province, roads, and we all want the best that we can for our society. And we know we're going to pay for it. But you notice this problem over the HST did not occur in Ontario, where they brought it in.
It's been very quiet.
Because the government didn't do it in the deceitful manner that many people here feel that the government did it here. And that's the problem. It's not the tax itself, it's the fact that many people believe the government lied and took them for fools. So all the debate you hear going on is not really about the HST and how it will, let's say, impact or assist business and corporations, and maybe
to the detriment rather of individuals, perhaps.
But to the overall benefit of the economy,
Sure.
perhaps in the long run.
Yeah.
That's not the debate. The debate is about the government and the way they mishandled the HST and the way they mishandled the public.
Our guest is Harvey Oberfeld, longtime British Columbia newspaper and television reporter, who now, by the way, operates a blog called Keeping It Real at harveyoberfeld.ca. Our guest has also won a number of awards over the years, mostly focusing on issues to deal with where the money goes. And that's another thing that bugs us taxpayers, Harvey, government waste. And we'll talk more about that when we come back here on the Money and Wealth Show.